Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. So it's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off. Online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, 20 takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today we are joined by a very special guest. We have Jeff LoVecchio on. He is a former professional hockey player and current RIPT Hockey training owner. Jeff is a former professional hockey player who spent seasons in the American League, the Coast, as well as overseas in Norway, Italy, Austria, and Asia. Jeff also spent some time in the NCAA with Western Michigan and a few seasons in the USHL. Welcome to the show, Jeff LoVecchio.
Thanks, bro. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. So, how have you been? Like, we're in these like very weird times. So, like with like quarantine and like all that. So, like, how are you like transitioning from like when we had like quarantine to like now where we're in like phase like 4 or something like that?
Yeah, who knows what phase we're in right now. It was crazy, man. Usually the off season is very, very busy for me. I signed up 80 guys to train with me in like only 2 hours when I put it out there. I was going to be training guys. And then on top of that, my pro groups. And then quarantine hit like a day, 2 days after I had everyone sign up. So I kind of had to pivot, and I came out with a bunch of online programs for people to do at home during those 2 or 3 months where people weren't allowed to be in gyms. And I know we came back here in St. Louis a little bit faster than you did in Illinois and Chicago to be able to go to the gym. So I was able to train all my guys for the last probably like 2.5 months, maybe 3 months. I don't even know. And a lot of the junior guys have left. All my college guys have left. And now some of my NHL guys are coming back from playing in playoffs, or their team didn't make it and stuff like that. And European pro guys, they've left. So I've been staying busy, and now I'm gonna start coming out with some more programs for people across the country that are gonna train during the season.
Yeah, it was good that you got programs out because like that quarantine was a time where a lot of people would either like not work out or anything or just find ways to work out, and that's what I did. Like I have a home gym right now. It's like literally right next to me, and like I just grind it out. Like quarantine was just lifting and just like running, so that's literally my whole entire day. And then once gyms opened up, I got out there a little bit, started going to the gym, and then now I'm back at school, and our gym's currently closed, but it's opening a week from today, I think. So I'm gonna get back in there. But I've been just doing body weight stuff and just doing like backpack, like putting like a shit ton of books into my backpack and just doing whatever I can to keep my fitness up.
Yeah, man, you got to find a way. And I know a lot of people don't understand exercise science, and they follow some hot person on Instagram that has no idea what they're talking about, which is the whole purpose of the whole reason that I came out with all my online stuff. That's all video demonstration of me coaching everyone through it. So, there's no excuse. You can get better. You just have to have professional help in you. And, that's why I came out with these cheap programs. I just wanted to help all these kids. I know depression rates were up a lot, and guys were just sitting around not doing anything. There was a bunch of NHL guys that I trained from different teams that didn't do anything for a couple months. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it's no excuse. Like, this is your job. You get paid millions of dollars. Like, you need to get in there and work. It's just having somebody help you with how to do that and think outside the box. And that's why I came out with all those programs.
Yeah, and that, like I said earlier, that was really good, especially for like everyone who bought the programs and stuff. It really like got them to actually work and like actually focus on what they're doing,
Progress. Yeah,
improve
yeah.
their game.
That was the goal, man. That was the goal. I wouldn't, when I was playing, I wouldn't have allowed myself to not train. And if I didn't know what I know, or if I didn't have a trainer that was helping me at home, I would have been pissed off. So I came out with them initially just for all my clients that I work with. And then I was like, well, I might as well make them available to everyone. And I wound up having pro guys in 13 different countries using
Wow.
them, along with amateurs in all those countries too. So that was pretty cool. And I was happy that I was able to help during kind of like a crazy time.
Yeah, that's unreal. Because I remember seeing your Instagram stories and like all these guys were contacting you and telling you how much they appreciate your program. So I bet that was really cool to see, especially from your standpoint.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I've always loved helping people. It's always been a big passion of mine. And, when you don't know what to do at home, you're getting depressed, like exercising releases positive, happy chemicals from your brain. So like, not only are you going to get better at hockey, even if you're at home, but you're also just not going to allow yourself to get into like a depressed state. So that was very important for me.
Yeah, so you're the owner of RIPT Hockey Training Academy. So like, what made you get into that, and like, what made you like start the whole thing out of St. Louis?
Yeah, so I mean, I went to school for exercise science when I was at Western Michigan. I played 3 years there, and then after my junior year, I signed with the Boston Bruins and left and foregoed my senior year to sign with them. But I was the only reason I played Division I hockey. The only reason I did decently well for power forward in USHL is I got into training. I learned at a young age that like I wasn't good enough to just rely on my skill, and then I realized that like when I started putting in sweat equity into the gym, it built confidence in my on ice game. It wasn't just like, oh, I have bigger muscles, I look good in the mirror, which I do. It was it was just, I was like, whoa, like I'm going into battles now in the corner and I'm coming out with the puck, and that gave me confidence. And as you know, confidence is everything in hockey and in life. So the gym literally changed my life. So when I went to Western, I studied exercise science. Like I left early to sign an NHL deal. But, the gym changed my game, changed my life, changed my confidence level. So after I had a bunch of concussions, unfortunately. That's why I wound up going over to Europe. I had one where I missed an entire year of pro in the American League. But I decided when I went over to Europe that I would start training kids in the St. Louis area. In the summer, because when you're a pro hockey player, you only work like 2 hours a day. In the summer, you just got to go to the gym. So I had a bunch of free time and I wanted to kind of get back, and I started off with 2 clients that first summer, and then it just kind of snowballed and rolled into like me helping a bunch of guys. I think the second year I had like 10, and the third year it was like 20, and then 30, and then 60. And then my last year, going into my 10th year playing pro, I was playing in Austria, and I worked with like 250 kids that summer, from all different levels, skill levels, pros, a high school team. I had a whole organization that was like 35, 40 kids. So it really kind of got into something big. So I was like, all right, and then with all my concussions, I decided to retire a few years earlier than I probably had to. I was still getting, pretty good offers from different leagues over in Europe. But with the concussion stuff, I decided, I can make a bigger impact in the game, and I can also preserve my brain. So started doing my training company full time now, and this will be going into the third season of doing it full time now.
Yeah, so from all the time you spend in the gym to like training all these younger guys, like what do you think that you learned from being a pro that made that's helping like younger teams be so successful in their game?
Well, I think the biggest thing that separates me from other strength coaches in the hockey space is that I played at a high level. You know, I was able to play. I went to multiple NHL camps. I played 7 games in the preseason. I know people all the time say, "Oh, if I didn't get injured, I would have played in the NHL." But like, I really would have. You know, I did pretty well in preseason, and they really liked me and stuff like that. But it just wasn't in the cards with the concussion stuff. So that propels me to try and help, you know, my pro guys, my college guys, my junior guys get to that next level. Like, I'm able to tell them all these things that I learned throughout my career. And I also understand, like, when you're in the summer, like when guys start to skate harder, you can't go as hard in the gym. You can go hard, but in a different way. And the beginning of the summer, when you're not skating, like your workout should reflect like the difference in that balance. It's kind of like a balancing act. Beginning of the summer, it's way more training, way less skating. And then as you get closer and closer to the season, it kind of goes like this. And then in season, you need to train a completely different way. And I found a way that made me way better. And I would actually get stronger in season by lifting a certain way that was completely different than the way that I trained out of season in the off season. So I just think that my personal experiences at playing at high levels and luckily being around so many unbelievable strength coaches in Omaha, in college, in, you know, Boston, Providence, the Panthers organization, like all over the world in Europe. I was exposed to so many different strength coaches, training philosophies, great people, great mentors that I was always just constantly learning from them. And then now my podcast, we've had on Mike Boyle, who I think is, you know, one of the best strength coaches in the world for hockey players. And I've been able to learn from him and pick people's brains. And then I just kind of try and put it together in my own style. And luckily, all those things combined, I think, kind of help the boys that I train, because I only train like elite hockey players. So
Yeah, and then going back to like the separation of like you from like other strength coaches, it's like the same thing as hockey. You gotta have like something. You gotta have like a different like set separation between like, so you're not like bunched up all into one group. So you just gotta stand out somehow. And if I feel like you're doing that with strength coaching, you're standing out in front of like the other coaches. So that's, so like take us through like more detail of like how you do that and like what it's like to just figure things out in like a whole different way.
well, I was always a captain on every team I was on from when I was a little kid. I've always liked to lead by example. Like it's just what I like to do. I like to put pressure on myself. I like to be in the front of the pack, and that pushes me to be better. And I don't know, it's just my personality, I guess. And I also, a big thing for me is I like to make training fun. Like, I personally believe you only live once, you know, YOLO, what's up? So for me, like, if you're going to do something, like, you should love it.
Yeah.
And if you're going to play hockey, like, you should have fun every day. I don't care if it's like the worst game you've ever played. Like, perspective is everything. You're playing hockey. Like, that's amazing. That's fun. Like, you could be, you know, if it was the World War II, like people our age would be over fighting a war. You know, you get to go to the rink and play hockey every day. You get to go to the gym. You don't have to go to the gym. You get to go to the gym and get to go there to get better at hockey. So like, you might as well enjoy doing it. You might as well have fun. And my goal every single day is anyone who comes through my doors, I want them to enjoy being there. It's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. Every day is hard. But you're going to have fun while doing it. And if you can learn to do that, you can push yourself past your limits. And so that's kind of the whole premise behind what I do. I just always want the boys to be excited, engaged, giving their all, whether it's a recovery day, and that means, you know, you got to give your all to your recovery, or it's a day where we're getting after it in the gym, or we're getting after cardio or sprints or whatever. I want to try and present it in a way where everyone's enjoying it and having fun while pushing themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And like I played hockey. I'm playing hockey. I've been playing hockey for 17 years so far, and I love every moment on the ice. And it's just when you don't like have that, like that you're having fun, I feel like that's when you have your worst games, because you're like really stressed out. But like ever since like you just have fun, just focus on having fun, I feel like my game has been uphill ever since. So it's always good to see that. And then especially in the gym, like it's hard, it's a grind, but you gotta still have fun. Gotta bump those tunes, get big, get strong, get that 1% better each day. and it's such a great feeling when that actually happens.
Yeah, I mean, like, no one wants to do something where they're not having fun. So, like, you're going to get more out of something if you have fun. That doesn't mean that you're not working hard, but you can work hard and have fun while doing it. It's just, I think it's all about atmosphere and culture, and that's just something I'm very big on is culture. And in my gym, like, culture is it's very apparent, it's very present. I want everyone helping everyone. I want everyone pushing everyone to be better. And if there's a weak link, if there's a guy who's not living up to that, like, I just won't train them. I'll tell them they can't come back. So it's expected in my gym that if you're in there, like, you're working hard, because I don't want anyone affecting my positive culture that I've established, and I work very hard to keep going day after day.
Yeah, exactly. And just from all your stories, it seems like your atmosphere and it's top notch. And so take us through like a day in the life of Jeff LoVecchio for like RIPT Hockey Academy.
Well, I mean, usually me personally, like, I wake up like 5 or 6 a.m. I'm talking about the off season, like when I'm busy all day. And, I learned when I was playing pro, you get to the rink and all the older guys are always there first. There's something to that, like, you look at the older guys, you look at your elders and see what they're doing and learn from them, because they've been where you are. They've been a rookie. They've been a second, third, fourth year guy. There's a reason they're still in the league 10 years later in the American League, the second best league in the world. Like, there's a reason that they're 30 years old playing the American League, 35 years old. There's a reason they've got 200 games in the show under their belts. So you got to learn from them, and they'd always be there early. So something that I learned is, like, the earlier you get up, obviously that means you got to go to bed earlier, because recovery is massively important. But, like, the earlier you get up, the better you feel. The more time your brain has to wake up, the more time your body has to wake up. So, like, I try and get up early, do some online work for my online clients, whoever I'm working with, or do check-ins or whatever, and just, look over my workouts that I'm going to be administering that day, so I'm familiar with what we're doing that day. And I use my phone when I'm in the gym, because this is why I'm able to, like, always put on Instagram what I'm doing, because I use an app called Train Heroic, and that's how I send out all my programs to people all over the world. But when I'm in the gym, all the guys are on their phone just to write in their weights and stuff like that, and all the workouts are on my phone. So that's why it's so easy for me to just real quick, just like pan across the room to show what I'm doing, because I want guys like you, younger guys who aren't able to work with me, to see what I'm doing with NHL players, with D1 players, with D3 players, USHL guys, etc. So I go through my phone and then get to the gym nice and early, and start with my first group, usually between 6:30, 7, might be 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And then usually an hour and a half to 2 hour increments. I've got a new group, hour and a half back to back to back to back, from whatever time to whatever time, however many guys I have that day. And in the summer, usually it's between 50 to 80 guys in groups of like 8 to 10. And so I mean, that's basically my life. Every day I come home, usually I'll work out after I'm done with all the boys, and just stretch and read about training, and then go to sleep and do it all over again.
Yeah, that's a day in the life right there. And like just work, 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 but you're having fun with it. So it's all that matters.
I've never really worked a day in my life. I mean, I've had 2 jobs as a professional hockey player for 10 years. And then, now I train, hockey players. So it's, I can't complain. Like, I work hard, I guess, from the standpoint of I'm always doing stuff, but, like, at the same time, I don't got to wear a suit. I'm my own boss, I own my own company, have my own gym. Like, I don't really answer to anybody, and I like that.
Yeah, so you've been participating in movement stuff every day. So like how important is movement to you, like getting the body moving every single morning, and just waking your body up?
Yeah, I started doing that. I mean, mainly because, like, because I work so much, especially in the off season. In season, it's not as much, but in the off season, I'm working so much that, like, my workouts are not, like, I love working out. I love training. It's my favorite part of every single day. It's the most important part of my day to myself, because, if I don't train myself, how can I train other people? But because of my energy expenditures daily, like my workouts aren't what I would love them to be. So, sometimes I'll only do like 2 minutes of mobility. I'll only do like a 5 or 6 minute warm up where, with my guys, we're what most people would call warming up for like 20, 25 minutes, doing all different pre-activation drills. So now that, all my college guys are gone, all my junior guys are leaving, all the young kids are back in school or whatever, and I have less clients, now I'm able to really focus on my own mobility and movement. And, it's like they say, if you don't use it, you lose it. And, being out of the game for 2 years, I haven't focused as much on my own mobility compared to what I used to, which was like 2 hours every day before practice, after practice, and before bed. I was crazy about it, and I haven't been able to do that. I also don't need to as much, but I've really made an emphasis here in September, starting every single day, 10 minutes, doing some mobility, movement, stuff like that. And man, I feel unbelievable. It's such a great way to wake up. And if you wake up early and you're not rushed and you get to really focus on your breath and your movement for 10 minutes, it starts your day off right. And it's been awesome.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to do that. I'll start it tomorrow. So screw it. I'll start it tomorrow and start
Yeah, buddy.
movement Monday, movement
There,
every day.
there you go, baby. Get after it. There's no time like the present.
Exactly. Because like mobility, like I haven't really done mobility since like before quarantine started. But once quarantine started, I started doing all the mobility stuff. Because I got one of my friends that's a current pro. Like he has a program, and I've been doing his program, and like it really does help you like move, and like
Yeah.
it makes you feel good.
Yeah, dude, it's not an accident. Success is not an accident. If you don't
Exactly.
move it, you lose it. Motion is lotion. You got to get into it.
Exactly. So it's I'm living life right now. That's all I can say.
There you go. I love to hear it. Love to hear it.
Yeah. So going into your junior career a bit, you were drafted by the Omaha Lancers in the USHL draft in the third round, number 24 overall. So can you like go into like how the draft went? Like what was the draft process like, and like what was it like to play for the River City Lancers, and like what your journey through juniors was like?
Well, it was a lot different when I was coming up. Like I think that might have been the first year of the USHL draft. It wasn't a big deal. Like I didn't even know. Like I was supposed to tender with Omaha actually, and then I wound up not tendering with them, and they drafted me. But like now like kids like go crazy about it and all this stuff, but like it really doesn't mean anything. Like you're not on the team. Like you got to go to tryouts to make the team. So like, yeah, it's cool that a team wants you and has your rights, but you still got to go to tryouts to make the team. So like, I was like, yeah, okay, all right, I got drafted. Like, cool. And so I went there and I made the team, and I played for the Omaha Lancers for 3 years. And first year was very hard. I probably should have played one more year of midgets and really focused on working out and getting a lot stronger, because I went probably a year too early. I actually made the team the year before too, as a 15-year-old. And then I made the team at 16, but I turned 17 when I started there. And, I only had 3 points that year. I got hurt right after Christmas. I missed the second half. And then that's why I really got into working out, because I wasn't allowed to play for 93 days. I was hurt. All I did was work out, and I came back just yoked, just a monster. And I had so much more confidence. And then the next year, I went from 1 goal my first year. I think I scored 16 my second year, and then 17 my third year. So like, if you have a bad first year, like most junior players, when they go that first year, it's very hard, especially if you go to a higher league, like, and I went right away into the best league. So like, you just got to keep working every day, make it fun for yourself, and believe in yourself. So I had a great 3 years there, played for, one of the winningest coaches in USHL history, and now he's at Mankato. And, luckily that got me a scholarship to Western Michigan University. So I'm thankful for my time there.
Yeah. So what was like your mindset like when you got injured? Like, were you just like focused what was the process for that? Because I'm sure you couldn't have done anything for like the first like couple weeks, and then once you got after that, you just started grinding in the weight room. So like, what was your mindset, especially at like the beginning of that part?
It was very hard, especially when you're young and you've never really had any real injuries. It's very tough. You just got to lean on the training staff and lean on your teammates and do whatever they tell you. And that's what I did. And, it sucked. Like I thought I was ready to come back, and then I get hurt again, like not even playing, just in practice. And thought I was okay, come back, and it was too early, so you got to listen to what they're telling you. You got to listen to your body. And, I had torn my groin off the bone. I didn't find that out for a long time, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me because they didn't do the right tests. Now I know what I know, and it's like, well, why didn't you just get me an MRI? But it's neither here nor there. But, you just got to do what they tell you. And if your leg is injured, odds are you can still work something out. You can work your brain. You can watch hockey. You can work your upper body. Like, you can work your other leg. Like, just because you hurt your shoulder doesn't mean your leg, you can't train legs. Doesn't mean you can't watch hockey and get better. Doesn't mean you can't do eye training. Doesn't mean you can't do hand-eye coordination. So for me, that really taught me to find a way, no matter what, to get better every day, even if I wasn't able to play hockey. And that stuck with me for the rest of my life, and is something that I just try and teach everybody now.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing where, like, you just got to find ways to do it. Like, no matter what, you have something you could work on. So I like how you said that there, and like that you just got to find a way. And like quarantine, we found a way. Like at school right now, I'm finding a way, and I'm sure everyone else is, especially during this time. So it's definitely really nice to hear that for sure.
Yeah, man. There is a way. There's something you can do. I don't care what injury you have. There's something you can do. Like, find a way. Like, I had a concussion. I missed a year and a half of hockey. I started doing vestibular training once I found out that I had a problem with that. I couldn't do much, but I was at least finding a way to get better. I mean, it was part of my recovery process, but, in the beginning, they just had me sitting around doing nothing. And then I found out, like, I went and saw all the doctors that Crosby wound up seeing, and yada, 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 learned a lot about my brain, and found out, oh, well, I should start doing vestibular training. So they had me start doing that, and that really helped me get a lot better. So there's always a way. There's always a way. You can find a way.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're very successful in juniors. You got a lot of points in juniors, and then you went on to play at Western Michigan. So, like, what was the process like finding Western Michigan?
I had a bunch of schools talking to me after my second year. Had a couple scholarship offers, but they weren't ones that I wanted, or wasn't enough money or whatever. And second half of my third year, I went on a couple visits, and when I stepped on Western Michigan's campus, I just kind of knew there was just like something where I was just like, this feels right. And for me too, like a lot of people, they have their dream schools. Like, they want to go to Michigan, or my dream schools were like Ohio State, Colorado College, UNH. And I got offered by a bunch of big schools full rides if I'd have played a fourth year, and then I could have had a full ride there. But I knew that I was ready to go out personally. I also wanted to go to a school that wasn't as good at hockey at the time, because I wanted to step right in and play. And I knew there was no guarantees. They were bringing me in to probably be the 13th forward, and I was like, F that noise. Like, I'm going to go and play like top minutes. And I wound up playing like the most minutes. I think I played the second most minutes as a forward on the team as a freshman, behind like our leading goal scorer. And so, I was playing like third line penalty kill. We took a lot of penalties. That's probably why I had so many minutes. I was on the penalty kill. But, you got to find that right fit. And I knew that when I stepped on Western's campus, that the coaching staff, the guys, the opportunity that I knew that I could make for myself there, it all made sense. And I wound up, they named me the captain as a sophomore, which obviously doesn't happen very often. And it was because I went to a school where I knew I would have that opportunity, instead of going after where I would be, a small fish in a big pond. So that was my main reason for choosing Western, and it worked out great. And I absolutely love Western Michigan, and it's really cool to see how good they are now.
Yeah, so what was that like development period like? Because obviously you said, like you said, you weren't on a great team, but now it's like they're like really good. So, like, what was that development process like for you, especially when you wanted to go pro?
Well, hockey's very cyclical, and hockey also, teams are good at different times. So my freshman year, we were bad. We were really bad. But we got way better as the year went on. We wound up winning our first playoff series on the road in like 10 years. We lost to Miami in the second round to go to the finals of the CCHA in overtime. Like, we had a shot. And then my next year, we wound up being ranked. by the end of the year, we were ranked. Our team was sick. I think we finished sixth in the CCHA, but like Michigan State won the national tourney that year. We beat them 3 out of 4 times. We beat Michigan in Michigan, which a Western Michigan school had not done in like 15 years or something. Like, it was crazy. Like, we were very good that year. But then my junior year, we lost a couple of really key players, and I probably should have signed and left early. I had a lot of opportunities to sign with some teams after my sophomore year. I wanted to stay one more year, and since I was the captain, I really wanted to keep the ship going in the right direction. And unfortunately, we had a down year that year. But it doesn't matter where you go. You just got to focus on every single day getting better. And no one thought I would have signed in the NHL when I left juniors, but I did. I knew I'm going to be a professional hockey player. I will be. I ate, slept, like drank, like everything I did was so that I could leave school early and be a professional hockey player. And even though nobody maybe believed in me when I stepped on campus, they sure did after that first year, and they did after that second year. So, every day you have to get better. No matter what, find a way to get better and be the best you can be. Don't look at the guys around you. Don't listen to the naysayers. Just get better every day in the gym, at practice, with your nutrition, learning about the game, studying the game. Find a way if it's something you care about. And if you care about it, you'll find a way.
Yeah, I love what you just said there. And like, do you think like the captaincy like helped you like become like a maybe not like a obviously a better player on the ice, but like a better person overall, especially for like all the things you learned from through like leadership of being a captain?
Well, I think, yeah, but I also think that, it's kind of innate. Like, you learn from leaders that you followed growing up. But like, I think people either kind of have leadership qualities or don't, and then you can obviously learn them. But you have to find your own style. Like, the worst leaders that I ever played with were the guys who were fake, and there weren't many, because no one wants to follow a faker. So like, I just always say, like, be yourself. Like, whoever you are, be yourself. For me, that's just somebody who I always was and am. And I like to push people. I like seeing people succeed. I like helping people succeed. And so for me, it was just kind of like a natural progression. I didn't ask to be captain. The guys voted me to be captain, you read leadership books, like look up to leaders that you play with, look up to coaches, mentors, and just take the best from each one of them and try and, just be yourself and form your own leadership style. And you don't need to have a letter to be a leader. Best leaders lead from the front. They also are good at leading from the back. They know when it's time to shut up and just get in the back and let someone else lead. Because that's part of being a leader too, is helping other people lead.
Yeah, exactly. And they picked you to be a captain for a reason. So, and obviously it showed. It also brings like a lot of confidence to the group, especially when you got a good leader. So, like all the teams that I've been on, like we've had good leadership, and like it really brings the team confidence, and like it brings the boys together for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, culture is everything. And that starts from your coaches and the managers and the leaders of the team right on down to the last guy who's a healthy scratch.
Yeah. So so after your junior year, you went in, you got a contract with the Boston Bruins. So like, what was it like to sign that first professional deal?
Yeah, it was amazing. That was I cried for sure. And I remember my mom came to town up at Western because we were guessing that I was going to sign. I was being told I was going to sign, and unfortunately we got swept by Ferris State in playoffs my junior year, and that was on a Sunday, and I signed on Monday and was on a flight Tuesday morning out to Boston. So it turned around very quickly. It happened very fast. But I was super excited to get my feet wet in professional hockey and play in the AHL after having kind of a disappointing season in college. And it was unbelievable. I went from like the last place team in the CCHA to the first place team in the entire American Hockey League. That while I was there, we set a record for like the most wins in a regular season, I think, at the time. And I think we probably won like 7 or 8 games in regulation out of like 35 my last year in college. And then when I went to the American League, we won 13 out of 14 to finish the regular season. So like, that was insane. It was just an unbelievable experience that I'll never forget.
Yeah. So you went to Providence after you signed, and I saw that you played 6 games in the playoffs. So like, what was it like being on that roster spot? and like in your first like pro stint?
Yeah, it was awesome. It actually had a bad bounce. The last game of the second to last game of the regular season, I murdered a guy, and I fractured my wrist and tore my
Oh,
TFCC. So I missed the first round of playoffs with a cast on. I had to wear a cast, and then the second round they played me with a cast on over some of their first and second rounders and third rounders. So that was really really exciting, and it showed you they valued me being on the team and in the organization, and it was unbelievable. Like playoff hockey in the American League is so good. It was so fast. We were up on Portland Pirates, who were Anaheim's farm team, who I almost signed with the year before, 3-0. And then Bobby Ryan got sent down to play in playoffs, and it was the Bobby Ryan show. Like he literally just took us apart, wound up losing in game 7, I think
oh.
it was, in the second round of playoffs, because he had like 2 or 3 hat tricks. Like he was just so good. It was unbelievable. And I had no idea who he was. And I was talking shit to him. And he's like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Oh, no, nobody." But yeah, it was an awesome experience. It was super fun and very challenging.
Yeah, so take us back to like when you got your first professional goal. Like, take us back to the day and like what the rush of emotions was like when you got that goal.
Yeah, it was unreal. It was my first pro game, actually. My first pro game. I got an assist in the second period. I got a goal in the third against Al Montoya, who was like an NHL player for a very long time, NHL goalie. And so I had a goal assist, and they named me first star of the game. And it was just like, I usually sellied very, very hard when I scored. Like it was just pure passion. Like I'd do the same thing every time. I wasn't even thinking. It would just happen when I scored. And it's like one of the only goals in my older career that I didn't do anything. I just remember looking up to the ceiling and just being like, yes, like to everyone who said I couldn't do this, like F you. And yeah, it was pretty cool. It was really exciting getting it out of the way in my first game too. Was exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. El Montoya's a Chicagoan too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, yeah, he is 100%.
So that must have been cool to get a goal on an Illinois guy since you're an Illinois
Yeah,
guy too.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then you went on to play with Rochester and San Antonio in the American League. So like, what was it like playing those organizations, especially since San Antonio just recently got bought out?
Yeah, it was awesome. I played in Rochester. I got traded from the Bruins to the Panthers my third year, and I played really well in Rochester. Actually, I couldn't believe Florida didn't re-sign me. I was one of 2 players that played there for most of the season that was a plus player. Like most guys was like minus 20, and
Oh,
I was plus 6 in 56 or 60 games. Had a couple fights against tough guys. Wasn't a fighter. Had a good amount of points, especially playing from the third and fourth line. And I personally felt that was the best I played in the American League for how I would have needed to play to translate to like a third or fourth line guy in the NHL. Unfortunately, it wasn't in the cards. Got a few more concussions, but played in San Antonio a bit the next year, and then I played my first, games in the coast there. And before that, I thought the coast was a joke, and went down there. I was like, holy crap! Like the East Coast Hockey League is a very, very good league. It's very hard to play in because you got to deal with so many different things that you do not have to deal with in the American League. Crappy travel. You're playing with shortened rosters most of the time if guys are called up or injuries. There's cap issues with that league. So it's a very, very good league. It's very hard to play in. So that gave me a lot of respect for that league and perspective. And unfortunately, I got hit from behind from some loser Russian kid and knocked me out and blew my sinus out. I had like 6 fractures in my jaw from getting elbowed in behind. I missed a breakaway. It's my own fault. Hit the post and went in the corner, and I got dummied from behind. And that's why I decided to go over to Europe for the next 6 years.
yeah. So then you went over to Europe, like you said. You played in Italy, Norway, Asia, and Austria, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So what was your time over? What was your time over like over in overseas like?
It was awesome. I mean, once you decide to go over there, you're pretty much giving up the dream of playing in the NHL. And because of all my concussions, I knew that was over. So I just wanted to make as much money as I could for as long as I could playing hockey. And, I made a bad decision listening to an agent going to Italy the first year. I should have waited for a better league, but you don't know what you don't know until you go over there. Italy was an experience. Luckily that year was the year of the lockout. So each team had like 10 imports. So that league was actually very good that year. The next year they had like 2 imports on every team. So next year the league sucked. Luckily, I only played there 1 year and scored enough goals that I got to a better league in Norway, and loved my time in Norway. Like, the fans there embraced me. It was unbelievable. The team voted me the captain there too, but I told them I'd rather be the assistant since I didn't speak Norwegian. I didn't know if refs spoke English there or not, but had an unbelievable year, one of the best years of my career. We just had a great, great room, great guys, great imports, great Norwegians. Really, really enjoyed my time at Lillehammer, and that set me up to get to, one of the best leagues in Europe, in the Austrian league, and really enjoyed my time there too, and did a really good job there. And then from there I went to Japan because they paid a lot of money for imports. And, like I said, I wasn't trying to get back to the US. I was just trying to make as much money as I could my last few years over there, whatever that means for a guy like me. I wasn't going to play in the KHL or the SHL, the best leagues over there. So Japan was where I could make the most money, and I got treated like an absolute god over there. Like, it was crazy. Got my own room on the road everywhere. I brought home 18 brand new sticks the 2 years I played there. So I got 36 sticks sitting in my basement. Like, it's unbelievable, first class. Like, everybody's like, oh, Japan, how is that? Japanese players are very good. Like, it's a different game. It's way more skilled. They just don't have the coaching from being younger there. But the team I played on was like made up most of the Japanese national team. So it was really, really fun and a really great experience. Loved my time there. And then I finished my career one more time in Austria, where I played the year before I went to Japan. So really excited to go back there to where, I had a really good year. And I really love the fans there. My team was right outside Budapest, one of the best cities in Europe. So I really can't complain about any of the places I played, even Italy, where, maybe I didn't love it that much. But yeah, I can't complain. I got to see the world. I got to be exposed to a bunch of new experiences, and I made some decent money for my type of player. So I was very happy.
Yeah, so like what was that transition like going from playing in the States to going overseas? And especially since like the ice surface is bigger.
Yeah, it's a little bit different game, but it all depends on league to league. Every league plays a little bit differently. So like every year when you get over there in preseason, like you got to learn how to play whatever style of game that league is. And Austria was very North American. Norway and Japan were pretty similar. And actually the league I played in Italy was very North American because, like I said, there was like 10 imports in the league that year. There was a couple guys locked out from the NHL that were NHL full-timers playing in the league. So every league is a little bit different. It was nice playing on the bigger ice, a little bit less hitting, only because the ice is so much bigger. It's like the Olympics. There's a little bit less hitting in the Olympics because you got 15 more feet each way. Power plays are different because the angles are different. Penalty kills are different because the ice is so big you can't chase as much. So, it's a learning process, which is pretty fun, playing a little bit different style of game. And like I said, I have no complaints. I had a great time.
Yeah, that just seems unreal, especially playing overseas. Like one day soon, like in the next few years, I definitely want to try to go play overseas. And so it just seems like I've heard so many stories. It seems like such a good place to play hockey. And
Yeah, the fans overseas are way better than they are here. I think NHL fans in some cities are way better now than they used to be, like Chicago, Nashville, all the Canadian teams. They have unbelievable fans. St. Louis does now. But 10 years ago, like fans, they were so docile. They were like, compared to like a European soccer game. When you go to a European soccer game, that's how European hockey games are. Fans have drums. They've got flags waving everywhere. They got noisemakers. Like, they're screaming. They're spitting on the opposing team. Like, it's unbelievable. It is so much fun playing in those European rinks. And so I love to see that, now the NHL is, before COVID, was starting to get more rowdiness in the stands because it's way more fun playing in those hostile atmospheres.
And like the post game celebrations I've seen, those are some of the sickest celebrations I've seen.
Yeah, man, the fans are crazy. They love that stuff. So you get to have a little bit of fun too. And like Carolina, what they started doing 2 years ago, that was very controversial. But like that's how like European games are, and and all the fans in Carolina love it. Like hockey, professional sports, professional athletics, like it's first and foremost entertainment. If no one's entertained, no one's going to the game. So like if the fans love it, then do it. Like autographs, throwing sticks in the stands after the game, throwing like towels into the stands, like whatever you got to do to keep the fans buying tickets, that pays your salary. So like engaging with the fans is just going to make them like you more and come to more games and be more passionate. And luckily Europe's figured that out. And I'm glad Carolina's done what they've done. And I love to see that stuff.
Yeah, I remember when Carolina first started doing that, and everyone was like giving them shit for it. But I really enjoyed it. It brought like the
Look
whole
what
like
happened. They won more games because it
they
bonded
did,
them as a team too.
and their
So
whole fan base too was with them, and like
yeah,
that support grows quickly.
yeah, and that's what matters. No fans, no game. Pretty simple.
Exactly,
Pretty
exactly.
simple.
So yeah, so do you have any other cool like or interesting stories from like your time overseas or like anywhere while playing?
I got cut by a skate. I blew a guy up kind of from behind. I didn't get a penalty in Russia. We were playing because the Japanese team that I played for, there was 3 teams in Japan, 4 teams in Japan, 3 teams in South Korea, 1 team in Russia, and 1 team in China. So we were flying all over the place to play all our games for that league. And Russia is Russia, and you know it's kind of interesting over there. And I blew a guy up in the first shift of our second game there. Yeah, because I didn't miss any games. So first shift of our second game playing in Russia, and the guy's skate came up and cut me, and I have like a pretty big. It's hard to see now because I've tattooed over it, but I have like a
Yeah, I
pretty
see
big
it. Yeah.
scar here. And man, it was nuts because we had a translator that translated between the coaches and the 3 import players on the team and that Japanese team. And so we're in Russia. The EMTs, there's no ambulance at the game, which there's supposed to be, but there's EMTs. So the EMTs didn't speak English or Japanese. My Japanese team translator only speaks Japanese and English, so he couldn't speak to them. So luckily there was some like big company that was in the crowd watching the game, and this girl spoke Russian, Japanese, and English. So she just came out of the stands and was translating in the locker room. They're cutting my gear off. They're telling me that my artery was cut and that, you know, I had to be rushed into surgery. They're like taping my arm up, holding it above my head. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to die. So I texted my mom and I was like, I'm getting surgery in Russia right now. I called my wife at the time and I was like, you know, I love you. I hope I see you again. I don't know what's going to happen. They're rushing me to the hospital here, and wind up going to the hospital, sit in this hilarious looking ambulance where like I sat in a chair that was like bouncing around in the middle of this van, and they didn't turn the lights on and they were weaving through traffic. Like it was dark out. We pull up to this building that was like pitch black, and I was like, this is the hospital. It looked like an abandoned like elementary school. We go in there and they're telling me your arteries cut, like your veins cut, whatever you need emergency surgery. And then they made me sit there and fill out paperwork. And this girl who was in the stands is there the whole time translating. They're holding my arm to stop the bleeding. I get it rolled into the operating room. Finally, I look up and there's blood all over the ceiling. And I was like, this is it. This is it. I'm going to die. I'm dying in Russia. Like, this is where I die. And then we get in there and the surgeon speaks a little bit of English. He opens it up and he's like, oh, no, your artery's not cut. You're fine. You just need a bunch of stitches. And I was like, Jesus, like all of this lasts like 2 hours, me thinking I'm going to die. And I wound up just needing stitches. And, you know, usually in the U.S., you wouldn't play until those stitches came out because it's in an area that's going to get slashed. You're going to get hit. It's going to move. My Japanese team's like, no, we're paying you good money. And there's only 3 imports. We need you to play. So I played like 3-4 days later with like stitches and like a big thing around. So if I got hit, it wouldn't explode. And it was an interesting time.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Especially since you had to play, your coach was like, you're playing.
Yeah, I had skated in like 4 days between getting back from Russia and our next game. And first skate was warm-ups for the next game. I had to play. You got to do. They're paying my salary, so.
Were there any problems with that, or did it just go smoothly?
No, I wound up being fine. Like I remember, like I had to have the gauze rewrapped like a bunch of times because I had like blood coming out and stuff like that, and you can't play with blood on your jersey or anything. So, but it wound up not being a big deal. But just interesting, different. You know, you're not in the U.S. and you're expected to play if they're going to pay you that well. So.
Yeah, that's at least good. That's good that you didn't die. So that's
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate.
yeah. So you got your dog and when you're overseas too.
Yeah, yeah. I got my little miniature Yorkshire Terrier when I was playing in Norway because we were pretty bored over there, and so we got a dog, little mini Yorkie when I was over there, little Josie, love her.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
you and your cousin Topher Scott have a podcast, Hockey Think Tank. So like, and you guys have some incredible interviews. You talk hockey, and you guys give like coaching tips as well. So like, what made you guys create the podcast and share the experiences you guys have learned over the course of your careers?
Toph is one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my entire life. Like he's literally, I always tell people there's guys that I played with that no one would ever say a bad word about. And if someone did, anyone who heard them would immediately choke them out. And Toph is one of those guys, a very short list. And he's just an unbelievable person, and he loves sharing his knowledge of the game. He has extremely, extremely high hockey IQ. He had over 100 points in college hockey, and he was like 5'3.5". Like that just, and this was when college hockey was a bunch of football players on skates. Like, so for him to have that, like, it was a very big deal. And so he started the Hockey Think Tank website. And when I retired, he just called me. He's like, "Hey man, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. You want to be on it with me?" And I was like, "Yeah." I didn't even know. Like, I didn't even listen to podcasts. I watched Joe Rogan on YouTube, his podcast religiously. But I didn't really listen to him other than Joe Rogan. Didn't know much about him, and because it was Toph, and I've always looked up to him. I was like, yeah, no idea what we were getting ourselves into, and like didn't think anybody would listen, and here we are now. We're probably close to 400,000 downloads now, so it's blown up all over the world for what it is with hockey people. So it's been a cool ride.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congrats on 400,000 downloads. That's unreal.
Yeah, and we're not there yet, I wouldn't think, but I know we
But close
passed
enough, close enough.
we passed 300,000 downloads a while ago, so we should be close now, I think, or relatively close.
Yeah, podcasts in general are just like really interesting to listen to. Like, I wasn't a huge fan until I started doing them, but ever since I started doing them, like, I've been all podcasts I listen to, especially hockey ones, of course, and like anything sports. So it's definitely good to hear. It's good to it's fun to watch your or listen to your episodes. And my favorite one by far is probably the Parksy one.
Yeah, man, how unbelievable! What a story. I've been training that guy for like at my company 9 years, I think. So I think I've been training him for 7. Man, for him to play, I cried when he got the call. When he texted me, at like midnight when he got the call that he was going up to the American Hockey League, and I cried, man. The things that guy's been through, and just hearing them on the podcast again and going through it again. Like I cried when we were on the podcast with him, because like that guy has been through so much. It's literally insane. Like he still like works like 2 jobs in the summer just so he can pay for training and pay for goalie coaching, and he's one call away from the NHL last year, playing in the American League. So it's an unbelievably inspiring story.
Yeah, that story like is unreal. Like there's never you never just settle for anything. Just keep going, keep going, keep going, and look where it got him. He
Yeah,
it's unreal because he's one of the guys I look up to, especially after hearing that. Like it's just you once you put your mind to it, you can do anything.
yeah, man. I mean, it's unbelievable. And even if you don't make it, you learn so many lessons, and you learn how to push yourself, and you learn how to give your all, and you will learn so much through that process that will help you in the rest of your life. I mean, I didn't fulfill my dream of making millions in the NHL, or even playing regular season games in the NHL. I only played 7 preseason games, but because I learned to pour my all into it, now so many people come to me to learn how to do what I did. And if they're more skilled than me, like they should be able to make it further than me, hopefully, and that's the reason that I put my all into it. And now I teach other people to put their all into it to see where they'll wind up. So, me putting my all into hockey wound up me having a successful podcast, and me having a successful training company and a clothing company, like all these other things that I'm doing now, all from failing, quote unquote failing and not making it to be a full-time NHL player. So, I mean, that's why I believe in learning to push yourself and give your all the time.
If you don't fail, you don't succeed.
Yeah, you fail, you learn, you fail, you learn, you fail, you learn, you fail, you learn. It's just over and over.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Jeff, I have a few more questions for you before we get this thing done. So, since you're a fellow Chicagoan, were the Hawks your favorite team growing up, or or if not, like, who was your favorite team?
Well, I was born in Chicago, but I grew up in St. Louis, so I consider myself a St. Louisan, even though I was born in Chicago. But the Hawks were my favorite team growing up, only because I was born there and my whole family loved them, and we always went back to Chicago multiple times a year. And then as I got older, I really fell in love with the Avalanche. Joe Sakic was my favorite player growing up, and one of my best friends and teammates all through juniors was Paul Stastny, who's now in the NHL, and I was actually training him all during COVID for like 16 weeks. And his dad played with Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg. So, like, I love the Avalanche. I love Sakic, love Forsberg. So the Avalanche became my favorite team as I got older.
Yeah, that's awesome. Then what were those like 7 preseason games in the NHL like? Like, what was like your favorite moment from those preseason games?
Uh, all of it. I mean, I missed that year and a half, and then my first game back was playing an NHL rookie tournament up in Kitchener against all the other NHL rookie contract guys. Played really well there, and then the first game, my first year, I hadn't played real hockey other than that for like a year and a half. And then we played in Toronto, and I got to play my first preseason game, and I played fucking lights out. I played so well. I was just running on pure adrenaline and excitement, and I wound up playing the most of any rookie player in that camp. But they played me 5 preseason games in the NHL after not playing for a year and a half. So that was unbelievable, and I got an assist in those 5 games. And then the next year I played 2 games, and we lost to the Panthers 3-2, and I had our only 2 goals. And in another game, we played against the Montreal Canadiens in Quebec in the old Nordique Stadium, where I played Pee Wee Quebec actually, and I hit a guy through the glass, and I got in a fight that game. So that was really cool. So I mean, just all of it, man. Like I'm so thankful that I was able to play hockey after that bad concussion, after I thought I'd never play again. I was thankful to play those 7 games. It was a dream come true. I mean, it wasn't regular season, but for me to go through what I went through and sitting in the dark for 6 months and not being able to even work out and losing weight and all this stuff, and then for me to come back and be able to accomplish that, it was very exciting. And I got called up for playoffs my second or third year with the Bruins. I don't even remember what it was. And I was on the roster in playoffs. I didn't play, but I was my name was on the roster. And, to a lot of people, like, that's nothing. But to me, and for what I had to go through with the concussion stuff, that was very cool.
Yeah, and that just proves that if you work, you can get your mind to like whatever you want to do. And you played 7 preseason games, so that's a lot more than a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, I'm big on being proud of what you're able to accomplish, and it's not like I was just some skill guy who didn't try hard. Like, I had to work for everything I got. So, I mean, I'm proud of what I was able to accomplish, and no one can take that away from me.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is the last question. It's probably the hardest question you'll be asked in this podcast. So, what's your favorite type of exercise to work on? Like shoulders, chest, biceps?
I don't know. I was always really good at pull-ups. Like, such a ridiculous answer because it doesn't really help hockey that much. But like, I beat Chara's record in Boston for pull-ups at the time. Everybody was like, "Oh, Chara's record is 33," and I feel like pull-ups are one of those things you're either good at or you're not. And I was like, "Well, I'm not coming off this bar until I beat him." And I wound up barely getting that 34th pull up, and I came down, and I guess he heard like I was good at pull ups and I might beat him. And I came down and I almost passed out, and I turned around and he was in my face, and I was like, "Oh shit." And he just gave me like a big like high five, and he's like, "Nice work, man. Like, nice work." And I was like, "Whoa, like that was cool." But probably like short sprints and plyometrics are my favorite things to work on. A lot of medicine ball stuff now. A lot of medicine ball power is very important, and it's also really fun to just like rip the ball into the wall or the ground as hard as you can.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome that you beat Char's record. No big deal at the time. So that's
Yeah,
that's
that's my
unreal.
claim to fame in my gym. Oh yeah, you guys. Oh, okay. How many can you do? All right. Well, I did 34, and I did 34 real ones, all the way down, locking out, and chin above the bar, which that's a lot.
Yeah, I get like 20 right now. So
That's good, man. That's
I'm
a lot.
working there. Yeah,
Yeah, a lot, man.
yeah. So I'm working there. So one day I'll be 35.
There you go, baby. That's now you got something to shoot for.
Yeah, exactly. So, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time and look forward to continue to follow your work and see it grow. And this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the time, buddy.
Yeah, no problem.